So welcome to another war game review from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander.
And I'm Grant.
And today we're taking a look at 1759 Siege of Quebec. Or Siege of Quebec 1759, depending on how you want to read that. So this is a game put out by Worthington, and it's the first in their Great Sieges series.
And this just came off Kickstarter. I think it was just fulfilled, right?
Yeah, this is only a few weeks old. And it's touted as a solo game. We played it 2-player because it's got an option for that, and we'll get to that in a bit, what the differences are there.
And did we think it was better as a solo or 2-player? You'll find out later. Right?
So it's designed by Mike and Grant Wiley, and this is an introductory style war game.
Yeah.
It uses I'll show you the map here in a bit. It uses a fixed map where there's kind of set positions for all of the units. It's not hexes. It's not really area movement even. It kind of is, I guess.
Well, you're just moving them to areas, so it is kind of area movement. Although you don't do a lot of movement.
And it's not defined in the same way that you might expect from that. It's not like, here's this, But basically, the game is a card game, the effects of which are played out on the board. Mm-hmm. So each side, so it's the French and the British are laying siege to Quebec. They are basically, each side chooses one order to perform and then a counter order to try and counter the opponent. And the opponent's doing the same thing. There's one thing they want to do and one card they're using to counter whatever the opponent's trying to do. And that's really where the game is it's this, you've got 7 orders and 4 counter orders, and you're playing this almost bluffing game of which one I'm going to choose based on the layout of the board and what I'm trying to do. And so I'm like, okay, I've got lots of troops up here, so I can attack there. But he knows I'm going to do that, so I might choose a different card to do a different skirmish somewhere else. Right. And if I can get him to play his counter order for up here, I'm going to get free reign down here. Mm-hmm. And there's this cool kind of cagey interaction with the card play there. Mm-hmm. When you execute an order, it's got like a little CRT that you roll on, based on
the card that your opponent chose,
and the opponent's counter order, and then you take losses or you take a morale hit, and then you just do the next order. Your opponent
rinse and repeat.
Yes. So it's a very short game. Mm-hmm. We'll say that we played a game. How long does the game take?
I think we were playing them in about 20 minutes.
About 20 minutes.
And ours were ending every time with a morale loss.
Yes, we played this 3 times over, and it's morale loss. It's
every time.
Do us every time.
In fact, I tried to move one or 2 shifts. It wasn't really something I was trying to do. I was trying to really pound you up here and just
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so the morale chart it's 1 through 10,
15
but it's actually
spaces.
got 15 spaces.
Yeah.
The game ends as soon as one faction goes to 0. Mm-hmm. Now, there are some immediate sudden death victory conditions, like the British actually emptying Quebec of units and then landing guys in Abraham, because they've literally taken Quebec. Very hard to do that.
Very hard to do that.
Or the French can win if they get through the whole command decision deck.
Which is 20 turns, right?
At minimum 20 turns.
Yeah, can be more.
Also very difficult. And that's something that can be adjusted to handicap a player or to make it even harder if you so chose. So, the sudden death victory conditions, probably very difficult. This is going to be a game of fighting, inflicting morale losses to get that track down to 0 most of the time. Probably 95% of the time. And that's fun, right? That's getting sudden victory conditions, and you're like, oh, game's over, and like, okay, great. I don't know. Doing the losses, the tension of, oh, I've got 3 morale. Yeah. Do I risk doing this big aggressive attack because it might backfire? That's where the parts of tension come into this game as well.
Well, and frankly, as the static defender, which is the French, there were times we were discussing it, and I'm like, well, you wouldn't want to play your card. You would want, because sometimes these event cards give you the option of just calling off what you're doing.
And I'm like, absolutely, because I get to preserve my forces and my morale.
Right.
I'm going to let you...
I mean, that's not every turn, but it's like, there's times you're like, I don't want to risk losing 2 guys.
Yeah, when it comes up, I'm like, ooh, yes, I will probably opt for that.
Yeah.
And the command decision deck is 20 cards, but the game comes with 33. And so it's random what's going to be in there. So you might get lots of options to be like, I'm not going to do anything.
Yeah.
Or you might get no options to do that.
Well, and with the timer, there were a couple of events that added cards to that timer.
I think there was like one that did that.
Was it just one?
Yeah, so
it was one of the
card
weather
type
rolls.
that does that, yeah, and you can like add a couple more in,
Right.
and you're like, oh, that makes it harder for the French because they got to last even longer.
Yeah. But once again, our games, all three of them, ended in morale losses. So we probably got 10 to 12 cards in, and the game was over.
Yeah.
Partly because I think we were both being aggressive at times, whereas maybe I should have been less aggressive. But trying to have fun and understand the system, I wanted to use the aggressive actions versus just my normal actions.
Yeah, because that's one of the other parts of this. You've got your 7 regular orders, and then you have a special card, which is your aggressive commander action.
Yeah.
And it's used to basically enhance what you're doing. Your commander's super aggressive in the attack that they're doing, or whatever, and there's an option where you're going to roll an extra die and probably take extra losses.
Yeah.
You might inflict extra losses, but the dice rolls are not great.
Well, looking at them, and it's like, for the British aggressive...
The first one's like a 50-50.
Right, but it's almost like... No, it's not 50-50. You're always going to lose.
But it's an identical loss shape.
Well, you're right. It's just inverted. Right. The others get a lot worse for the British because they get exhausted. They're, we really have to take this readout one more time. They don't want to do it.
Yes.
So you really, in my opinion, these become important when the game is in doubt.
Yeah.
When I've got you down to, say, 2 or 3 morale, and man, if I could roll that 2,
and
the game would be over.
Especially if you're in a precarious position.
Right.
But then it's like, do I risk it?
Well, the last game we played, I ended up killing myself. I ended up breaking my own morale because I tried to do a coup de grace and get you out 3 morale spaces.
Which you needed to do.
Yeah, and I needed to roll a 1, which was, very hard to do. Very hard to do. But lots of interesting elements. I really enjoyed that choosing of your attack and your defense option. I thought that really was what set this game apart and made it interesting.
Yes.
Was that element.
And that to me is almost always the most fun part of games like these. Mm-hmm. I like a game where the player interaction is very meaningful and also tense.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have an educated guess as to what you're doing, but then I'm playing the opponent of like, I know he's going to bluff me in this situation.
Right.
So I'm going to do this
I know he's
thing.
not going to do the obvious thing. It's too obvious. So obviously he wouldn't do the obvious thing.
And then you're like,
I'm slapping it down.
Doing the obvious thing because you're going to not do it.
So that's interesting. The other thing I really liked about that element of choosing your card is you really can look at the board and at the beginning it's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
Right? But as the game moves on and you don't have certain forces in certain areas, you might go, well, I'm going to focus my attacks on Beauport to finish you off, or to force you to then waste your turn moving troops. So it's like you're kind of playing that, looking at the board, understanding what you want to do and what is reasonable for the opponent to do on the board. And I liked that element. I thought that was really cool. So as the board degraded over time, I felt like either my options became less and it was easier for you to guess my choices, or vice versa.
Yeah.
And I think that's a dangerous position to be in, but I did like that.
Yes.
So
what we'll do is I'll show you the board here and we'll kind of show you how it works. It's not a complex game, and we'll wrap up with a few final thoughts. So here's a look at the map, and this is kind of I'll knock this off. Let's see. Okay. I knocked that one off. Okay. So the map itself is very simple. Like we said, it's this kind of hand-drawn style. But I don't know. It's a cool aesthetic to have a nice, cool, old-looking map with the little block units on it. Makes you feel like it's an old, war game, even though that's what it is. Like you're pushing around kind of the blocks at War College, but really you don't really do a lot of that in this one. Like we said, this game is It's a card interaction game. And then the results are you do a siege, you do some war, you do some skirmishes, some fights. What we'll do, we'll show you just a few of how this really works. You can see the board has printed on it these kind of red and blue spaces. So your forces aren't moving tactically on the map, so to speak. They're in these boxes, they're holding boxes, and if you've got guys here, you can do a certain type of card action that would affect these boxes down here, for example. That's really what this is. And again, if you've played something like W1815, it's a similar style to that, where the forces it's static, so to speak. At least the formations and the layout is how you reinforce and what you do. That's where there is movement. So I've got my reserves here. If I want to fill up these boxes to do more attacks down here, I will attempt to move them and they just go into these spaces. But I'm not like changing my formation to make a spearhead and like go and attack. Like, it's just, I've got guys here, I can do it, you know. That's the gist of the board though. The British have these 3 ships. In theory, they're going to try and move those down to Upper St. Lawrence so that they can then move troops into Abraham and really lay siege to Quebec. It's hard to do that though. and then conversely, the Canadians are also trying to use fire ships or certain card effects to push the fleet from Lower St. Lawrence all the way to the safe anchorage back here in the South Channel. But so that's like a mini game within this. Other than that, it's pitching battles here or here or here and trying to reinforce where you can within a short time limit. Again, it's a 20-minute game. So how does it actually play? Basically, each side has this bifold. This is the General Wolfe Field Orders book. You have 7 different orders that you can issue, and then you also have this extra special little aggressive commander action that you can do. And there's a card for each one of those, so you can use that, and that's got some more. You can use this, where it's got some detailed text on it, a little chart, but it's also reduced onto cards as well. And how you play it is with cards. If you're using solo, you can use the chart, no big deal. But basically, I have my 7 different orders that I can do, and I'm basically trying to bluff my opponents to what I'm trying to do. So I have a fairly weak force here, so I'm not going to try and launch an attack in case I take major losses, and this goes very poorly for me. I've got a decent force up here, but so does he. Because he's got all his boxes maxed, so do I. So I'm going to consider trying to attack Beauport, maybe. So I'm looking for something like attack Lower Quebec. Okay. If I play this card, any troop losses that are taken from a Montmorency, if I lose, I'm going to lose guys from this area when I've got a bunch. Or, for the British, or Beauport from the French. Ooh, let's get that in focus. Beauport from the French. And Beauport only has 4 out of their 6 guys. So if I can really take a dent here and weaken these guys, first off, when you lose guys, your morale drops. And when this gets to 0, the person loses. But, you know, when this gets empty, they might have to move reserves out here, which weakens Quebec, or it's easier for me to guess what they're going to do, because for me to play this card, attack Lower Quebec, I must have troops in Montmorency to issue this order. Conversely, the French, for example, if he wants to attack Lower Quebec, which is kind of the counterpart to what I'm doing, he has to have troops in Beauport to do this. So if I can kill all of his guys in Beauport, I know he can't issue this particular order. And as such, that makes my counter-guessing easier. So, before we do it, let me show what that looks like. So, we're going to play attack Lower Quebec. So I choose that and place it face down. Then what I have to do is I have to pick one of my 4 counter orders. Defend Lower Quebec, defend Upper Quebec, counterattack, or Rangers. And so I'm going to choose to do a counterattack. And I place that down here. That's what I'm going to do. Now, this counter order is counterattack, which is big C on it. That's really the important part. And we'll show you how that works. So, for example, if the French was going to issue this order to do a hold action, they're going to roll a die, and this is the combat results. They're going to lose 1 blue, or on a 6, I'm going to lose 1 red. But because I chose the counterattack, the C card, they're going to roll on this table, which is much more damaging if they mess up their roll than this one is. This is, oh, you lose 1 on no effect. People can start losing 2. Now, I could lose 2, so it's worse for me too, but it's also worse for them. So there's some luck to be had in this game. Okay? And you start to get into this really, really challenging guessing game as to what do I think they're going to do. Well, I know I'm going to attack these guys, and the British always go first. So I'm hoping to wipe out his guys or kill 1 or 2 of them. If he attacks me back, he's going to be a little bit weaker. I'm not too worried about that. He's got a bunch of guys down here in the South Shore villages, and I'm pretty weak in Levis. So maybe I think he's going to do a skirmish, for example. Or is he going to do attack Upper Quebec? So, and this is a pretty decent one, because he's got troops both in the North Shore villages and the South Shore villages. So he's going to choose to do the Upper Quebec. And I chose to do, my counter order was that. And then the French counter order, his is slightly different. So he's got defend Lower Quebec, defend Upper Quebec, defend Quebec, defend all positions. Now, the French player is assessing the board. Got a big bunch of dudes here. He's going to try and attack here. You can kind of, and it's this guessing game. What do I think he's going to do? Or do I think he's going to move troops down here? So I'm going to do defend Lower Quebec. I think that's going to be what he's trying to do. And it's literally this little mini guessing game that you're trying to do. So what happens then is, before you resolve any of that, you draw the next command decision card. This one says all quiet, and it says you can proceed with the order as issued, or you can cancel it. You can basically just skip your turn if you choose to. Some of these are really, really interesting. This is an aggressive assault. You can either proceed with your order as issued, or or you can attempt to do it as an aggressive attack. And if you do that, you inflict double losses, which, like we saw in a little chart, could be to yourself. So you can choose to play it safe, or you can go balls to the walls, basically. Guns of Quebec, you can either proceed with the order you issued, or you can forfeit that and roll on this table, which will affect morale one way or the other. So some of these are really, really nice cards, or very tough choices, or a way for you to gamble. So let's keep this aggressive attack one out, because I think that's fun. And this is also a timer. If you get through 20 cards, the game wins, and the game ends and the French win. It's very hard to do that. A lot of the time the game's going to end by the morale plummeting, and you'll see why. So aggressive attack, proceed with orders issued, or do an aggressive attack. I'm the British, I'm thinking, ooh, let's be aggressive. That's just how they are. So I'm going to do attack Lower Quebec. That's what I'm going to do. And what we do is we reveal, this is my order, we reveal the French counter order. And the French counter order is defend Lower Quebec. And this is the perfect combination for the French player. So this forces me to roll on the A table, which means that there's only potential for the British player to take losses. They did a really good defense, and I basically crushed myself against them. If they'd have chosen the B card, they would have got whopped. So there's give and take, or if they'd chosen any of the other ones, more of a 50-50 on who might take the losses there. So that was basically the perfect match of the trump, so to speak. He basically trumped me, so I'm going to roll on a terrible table, and it's simply a d6. Roll the dice. I rolled a 3. Consult my chart. rolled a 3, so I'm going to take 1 loss. But because I chose to be aggressive, I'm actually going to take 2 losses. And based on what it said here, it was troop losses are taken from Montmorency. So I lose 2 guys, they just dead, go into the dead box, and I lose 2 morale. Boop, boop, that's it. Not what you want to see. Now, then it becomes the French player's turn. I'll keep that out, this one's gone away. So the French player is doing their attack Upper Quebec. And I played a counter-attack card as the counter to that. So before we reveal these, the French player says, am I going to do a regular order or am I going to do it aggressive? They're going to do a regular order. French aren't going to be as gutsy in this one. Now, because I played the C card, we're going to roll on this on this C table here, which if you look 2-2-1, 1-1-2, not as good for the French player, but they're going to attempt to roll anyway. So they're going to roll the dice, and they rolled a 4, which is good for the French player because a 4 is 1 British loss. And any troop losses are taken from Levis for the British, so we just lose 1 here, and the morale goes down 1. And that's a round. Okay, you take your cards back, and you basically go again. You flip another one of these, you go again. But in turns where your morale plummets like that by taking losses, it's brutal. Okay. When you start doing bombardments of Quebec, it's an abstraction of you firing naval guns, and you just roll a die, and the morale might go down. But a swingy roll here or there, and you lose a battle, and you're like, oh my gosh, this goes down. But what happens is, for example, if he can clear out all of my troops from Levis, well, he now knows that I can't play my attack Upper Quebec card. So I have to have troops in Levis for this. This is 1 fewer card that I can play. He knows that I also can't play my attack Quebec card, because you have to have troops in Abraham. Don't have any troops in Abraham. So his counter guessing game becomes a little bit easier. Okay, that's why wiping guys is important, or if you can do it, it's very fortuitous. And then I'm going to say, well, I've got to get guys down here. So he knows on my next turn, I'm probably going to play a move order. And if I play a move order, moving your troops, not guaranteed. Okay, there are some failures down there. And so if he's smart, he's going to play A, B, or D, because those are the better odds of me failing, which is very frustrating, I will say that. So if I play this and he plays a D, I've got to roll a dice. This means I don't move anyone, and I've just wasted my turn. And a wasted turn is excellent for the French. It's 1 fewer turn where they took any losses, and it's 1 turn closer to the end of the game where they can win that way. Again, very hard to do. The morale track's going to do it almost every time. But very simple game, very easy game. The solitaire bot basically has a deck of cards on it that has some effects, and it has the counter on it as well. But it's random, so you don't get that cool guessing and the bluffing interaction, which I really like. But other than that, you play it the same way, where you choose, I'm going to do this order, boom, and do they counter it, yes or no? No, okay, great, boom, and you kind of go for it that way. So, a neat little game, very quick, plays in 20 minutes. I mean, the British just lost, what? 1, 2, they lose 3 guys, that's 3 morale. I mean, there's only 15 spaces on this, 5 turns later they're going to lose if they keep going at that rate. It's not a long game, it's not a complex game. You can play this with anyone. So what we'll do, wrap up with a few final thoughts here. So that's a look at the board. As you can see, it's a very simple game, and the solitaire bot it does the same thing, but it's a bit more random.
Yeah, they just draw a card for their...
Yes, and then they've got their multi-use cards there. But to me, and it was very interesting, because one of our patrons had this game. That's where I saw it, and I had to get a hold of it because it looks so cool. Mm-hmm. But he was like, "It's a decent solo game." But then someone else chimed in and was like, "But I think it's a better two-player game because you get that the player interaction with that
Yeah.
tension of the choice becomes really important.
Yeah.
And this cool little bluffing aspect.
Yep.
And that's, again, something that plays right into what I like in a game as well.
That interaction.
Yeah. Now, I've not played this solo.
Right.
And I will do so, but it's
understanding
definitely something to think about,
understanding how it works.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at these cards, it literally is just, you're drawing off the top and then doing
and
what that says.
That tells you what the counter order is.
Right. So it's
instead of someone trying to make a more intelligible choice.
right. So to me, once again, designed as a solo, I think it's better as a 2-player.
And it would,
having not even played the solo,
Yeah.
which is hilarious, but watching a couple of videos and understanding how it works.
Yeah, the solo's probably fine as like a fun little random states
Well,
of
it
siege
then just
game,
becomes
right?
an exercise in, drawing the cards and trying to do what you need to do.
And for 20 minutes, not bad, right?
Right.
That's okay. You can just set it up, play it for a little bit. Play it on your lunch break or whatever. But I enjoy this as a 2-player, and because it's so simple, anyone could learn and play this.
I would agree.
This is an introductory war game.
What was the ages? Did it have like an age range? I thought it said 12 or higher.
It says 13 plus.
I would think a smart kid around 8 or 9 could get this.
Yeah, like this is, if you're playing Stratego with your kids, they could play this
figure this
very
out.
easily.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what this is to me. It's kind of the next step into a more historical setting, and the components are beautiful as you've seen.
Well, the board, I like the board a lot.
I like the powder blue.
Yeah, the French and the British.
A lot of games it's like a dark blue or
True.
whatever, and I just really like that color. I think it's nice. It's a very pleasant board to look at for what it is. The cards are great.
Yep.
And they're very good quality, and that's what I would expect from Worthington at this point.
I did wish the card backs were different. Like, so these are my orders, and then these are my, what do you call these?
Those are counter orders.
Counter orders. I'm like, I wish they were, because I found myself mixing them together kind of a couple of times, but that's a nitpicky thing. They look very different on the other side.
And I can't think of a reason why you'd need to hide.
Yeah, it's not like you need to hide. That's what I'm saying. Just make these the French ones. These are the British ones. Make these, just have wolf on there, right? Or something.
Yeah.
Just a thought, but good cards, good stock. They're that linen.
Yeah, they got the
finish.
texture on them, which I really like.
I liked the board. I thought it was evocative of the theme and the area and the time. I liked it.
Yes.
I liked it.
So this is a Siege of Quebec 1759. Very simple, very introductory war game, but it gives you some cool tactical choices to get people into these styles of games, and it is the first of a series of games, and I hope there are many more to come, and I hope that they put more, because there's things you could add to these with more complexity, different situations. It scales. I think this would scale very easily. Instead of this being like, a company, that could be a man if you were defending just one thing. So you could do so much with this system, very versatile.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see what it brings.
Well, and I think that was my comment as we were playing. I kept saying, ooh, it'd be cool if this would happen. One of the things we talked about was, because morale is so key, they probably haven't messed around with the morale. But, when you're attacking and an attack really goes well for you, it'd be nice. Oh, you get +1 morale for your really good attack. Now that becomes an exercise in randomness. But another solo game that I've been playing a lot recently, the Wars of Marcus Aurelius, they have an effect where if he is commanding an army and rolls a 6, he gets +1 what's called an Imperium point, and it's kind of the morale concept.
Right.
If that ever goes to 0, they kick you out, kill you, and change your leadership.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
just a thought. There's some of those things that could have happened. I was also, the only thing I was really disappointed about was we just didn't seem to care that much about the boat movement.
Yeah.
And it was because of the way the games went. Had the games went differently, I might have cared a lot more about the boat movement.
It's hard to do because you're sacrificing attacks to do them, and maybe you should do that, because when you attack, you're losing morale because you rolled so crappily.
True.
Maybe if you'd have spent those times moving those, but moving the boats is a 50-50. You might lose morale moving not.
Yeah.
When you fail the boats, you lose morale as well.
Well, and the way the boat stuff works is if I move one ship down, it does no good for me, right?
Yeah, you got to get 2 down there.
So the
at
next
least.
turn, so let's say one of the activations, I move a boat down there, and the next turn you decide I'm going to do the fire, but you only do fire ships twice.
I can only do it a maximum of twice.
So yeah, that's the thing. I would want to force you to do that, because there's a chance you cock it up too.
A very good shot.
Yeah.
The
What was
fire
the
boats are not good. It's like It's the yeah,
they're not good at all.
It's not good.
You roll a 1, you're losing 3 morale.
Yeah,
it's like people got caught on fire and
all your boats are gone and.
So that was something I kept asking myself, why would I be doing that when I can just attack? Now I lost, so maybe I should have switched my tactic.
Because that put more pressure on me if you're down an 8.
Yeah, because you can't use that attack Quebec for the British unless you have guys down there.
And getting them down there is a significant investment. So
that's maybe something maybe we could play a couple more times and try to maybe focus on that strategy. But overall, very interesting game.
Yeah, for as simple and introductory as it is, it gives you some good tactical choices.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Especially for a game that pretty much anyone could learn and play.
Yeah. I just want everyone to understand it's very introductory.
Yes.
I think it's made for a very simple, quick play, 20 minutes. So you're not going to get that real huge, in-depth, involved 4-hour, 5-hour war game feel. This is just not that kind
There's
of game.
hardly any different units. It's just like red and blue, rolling some dice based on the cards you play, and it's like, oh, are we doing it? We're not.
Yeah, but interesting.
Yeah, and fun. And it's 20 minutes, and it's done with, and that's what's cool about it. You play again, 20 minutes, and you're like,
And once again, we said this at the beginning, it's really cool when you choose right, and your Rangers attack your
if I'm doing
Indians.
if I'm doing my Indian raids and you pull a Rangers,
it's like, boom, you're done. So I like that. Trying to guess, okay, he's going to go with the Indians because his villages aren't really able to attack.
Or he's going to attack Upper Quebec. And when I defend Upper Quebec, you can only take losses.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
the whole column is red that you can, the British will take 1 to 3, I think, is the high.
Yeah.
So that part's really the great part. That's where this game shines.
Yes, that's the best part.
Combat area.
So I appreciate you guys tuning in. This is Siege of Quebec 1759 from Worthington. It's brand new, available now. You can play it solo, but it's a great little 2-player game that you play in a short amount of time as well. So if you like this, it's available on their website and it's decently priced. Beautiful little game, excellent production value, exactly what you'd expect from Worthington as well. So thanks for watching. I've been Alexander from thePlayersaid.com.
And I'm Grant.